Hey there, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me today. It is Sunday, September 11th, and this is your weekly video. Okay, so let's kick it off with a review of last week's forecast, which played out almost perfectly. In fact, one of our Time Trades customers emailed me and gave me an A plus on the forecast. So we'll run with that. So you can see here the path of price that we traced out last week and pretty much followed that to a T with the low occurring right on the Gann wave blue. And then after that, trending up pretty strongly. We're looking at NASDAQ futures here, daily chart, and the futures regained the magic level here at 12,224 or so, and then separated above that strongly on Friday. So crossing of a magic level like this is very important in my work, and you can see in the past how magic level crosses have generally indicated the direction of the market. So this is an important development that we're going to incorporate into our new forecast that we're going to build today. Okay, so that was a very good result. Measuring from Friday to Friday, you would be up 4.7% from the low of the week on Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening on the futures, you'd be up 5.8% just on the 4 trading days that we had here from Tuesday through Friday. So very successful forecast last week. In general, the last 2 or 3 forecasts that I've made have been really centered on making the most of the Gann waves. And I think that's a big reason for the increased success rate here. So I'm going to keep using Gann waves as the center point of the forecast that we build out going forward here. And I'm going to throw a few new twists into it because, of course, everything changes in the world of astrology and astronomy and planetary cycles. So we're going to stay current with what's going on in the sky. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the roadmap and review what has changed with time trades over the last week or so, okay? Because some of these changes are a little bit below the waterline. They're sometimes kind of hard to notice if you're not like really deep into the weeds like me. So I like to talk about these a little bit so you understand that, yeah, things are always evolving and getting better, and we're striving to improve our accuracy. So before I do that, I think it's probably a good reminder. I've shown this slide before. It's a good reminder to just remind everyone of how time trades works and understand that, hey, there are limits to this. Just because it's some computer software doesn't mean it's perfect. Our price data starts in November 1999, so we're not going to pick up any longer time cycles than that. So this means that slow outer planet time cycles like Uranus, Saturn, and that really aren't going to be captured in the time trades methodology. Okay, and especially those newer securities with 5 years or less of price data, they will have much less accuracy than securities with more price data because there's just less data to build a predictive model on. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're looking at the probabilities in that. All right, so let's take a look at the machine learning additions that happened over the week. We're continuing to make and optimize use of declination. And so I spent a little bit more time on identifying the optimal combinations of inner planet and outer planet declinations, including some asteroids. Interesting thing here is the models perform better by ignoring Uranus declinations. So that's a strange little behavioral thing that emerged from the testing that I did, but hey, whatever works, right? And also speed is a big influencer in my work. So by speed, I'm looking at geocentric speed, speed relative to Earth, and heliocentric speed, speed relative to the sun. So I was finding the optimal combination of planets and asteroids that maximize precision and accuracy there. And then finally, we're continuing to work on adding some hotspots. So we added some hotspots in the geocentric Venus cycle and the North Node cycle, and combined, those are improving accuracy as well. Okay, so some very nice improvements there. All right. Now, as of today, we're continuing to make some improvements on the web application and improve usability there. There's still a few rough edges. We made the first, I guess, down payment on that commitment yesterday. Last night, I pushed up and made live the new GAN wave display in the web application. So that matches the TradingView script. But there's still a little bit more work to be done here. And I want to record a few more videos that guide time trades users on how to make the most of the historical analysis and keep the user guide in sync with all the changes that are being made. And then finally, we want to work towards this commitment from back in early October about identifying the key influencers on intraday TradingView charts and making the most of the influencer data that's being calculated. Okay, so there's still lots of interesting stuff happening here in the background, and we're slowly but surely making time trades better every week for you guys. Okay, so that's our quick little roadmap update. Now, let's go and build a new forecast, and we'll start by taking a look at some of the indexes here, okay? And with the indexes, we are focusing in on the GAN waves, and you can see here the improved GAN wave display. It's a lot easier to read. GAN wave blue is low of the cycle, yellow is high of the cycle, green is when it crosses zero. Okay, so you can sort of visualize how that works in your mind there. And in general, when it comes to the Qs, what's happening this week that's not shown here is Mercury retrograde. So I'm going to be doing some more analysis on the Qs shortly that takes into account Mercury retrograde. But remember, the default interpretation of GAN waves is that blue is a low, yellow is a high. So we had a nice low last week on September 6th on Tuesday, right on the GAN wave blue, just right by the book. So if things continue by the book, it's going to continue going up into yellow. That being said, we're close to a MATIC level here. That often creates a little bit of resistance, as you can see in the past. There's a bit of, these are common support and resistance levels. And also we're at a GAN wave green, and sometimes GAN wave greens create tops as well. So you can see in the past here, GAN wave greens have created inflection points. So what we're going to do is we're going to build our forecast taking into account some of the patterns that we found on Mercury retrograde cycles and that. But in general, the by the book behavior, which is sort of up into a GAN wave yellow and down into a GAN wave blue, that's the basic pattern here, and we see that continuing. We see a cluster of red down days close to a GAN wave blue. We see a cluster of pivot lows close to a GAN wave blue. And we see a little reduction in down pressure here right around the GAN wave yellow. So that's going to be the core part of the forecast. So let's see if that also shows up in like the spiders and the diamonds. So we can take a look at spiders here, and we can see similar kind of behavior with up pressure forecast right around the GAN wave yellow, and an increase in pivot highs right around the GAN wave yellow, and a big gap in down pressure. All the down probabilities just kind of disappear here for the next week or so. So this kind of corresponds quite nicely with that traditional GAN wave behavior. And let's see on diamonds, what does that look like? Again, actually very similar on diamonds. There's a big gap in the down pressure here for the next week. And then it returns for the period September 19th through October 3rd. And we can see some pivot highs here on that week. I guess I'd like it a little bit better if the pivot highs were shifted right a little bit and closer to this peak in down moves on October 3rd, but I'll take it. So, the overall contours of the forecast are starting to come into focus here. And what we can do now is we can go and take a look at trading view, and let's take a look at Mercury retrograde behavior here. So we've got this over here. I've plugged in the orange areas are Mercury retrograde. And you can see how in the past, when Gann wave, after Gann wave yellow heading in towards Gann wave blue, their price generally declined. Okay, so back here in September 2021, we had multiple down days in a row. It bottomed out right around the green, didn't quite make it all the way to Gann wave blue, but still pretty close. There's a very strong move here back in the beginning of the year in January 18th through January 31st. Actually, the down pressure peaked right on a Gann wave green on January 24th. So again, we see when Gann wave yellow combines with Mercury retrograde, usually get down pressure. And we see that again here in May. Gann wave yellow combined with Mercury retrograde, again, we see moves down. So when does that happen next? Well, that starts September 19th. Okay, so that's a week from Monday, we get Gann wave yellow. So the Gann wave yellow period is happening actually about a third of the way through this Mercury retrograde period. And then the Gann wave blue is on October 3rd, right on the day that Mercury retrograde ends. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be going down from September 19th through to October 3rd. That, I think, is the confident part of the forecast, just based on prior behavior and looking at how Gann waves behaved in combination with Mercury retrograde. Okay. So what is going to happen before then? Well, we've got a Gann wave blue heading up into a Gann wave yellow. That's the standard interpretation. Did it go up the last few times we had Mercury retrograde? In general, yes. During late May, and also yes in late January. So January 31st, it went up for a few days. Didn't even make it all the way to Gann wave green, but we did get some strength here for, it looks like, 3 days in early February. And then going back to October 12th, we also saw strength from blue moving up into yellow. So as we build out our forecast here, I think it's coming into shape where we're going to have moves up from blue to yellow, and then a move down from yellow into blue. So we're going to go back over here to the NASDAQ futures, and I'm going to amend this this arrow here. And we're going to update that. I have to delete it first, and then we're going to re-add the path. So where is that? There we go. Okay, so we're going to put in the last one that was pretty accurate. So we want to keep that one there. That worked really well. So we've got that path from last week's. So now what do we think is going to happen? We just talked about how we see price going up from gamma wave blue into gamma wave yellow, and then down into blue again, and that will complete the Mercury retrograde cycle. So let's add another arrow here, and we think we're going to get something like this. I wouldn't be surprised to see it make it all the way up to the underside of this magic level here, and then drop down and retest this magic level, or possibly even go lower down here. But in general, when I draw these are not price accurate. They're sort of they're intended to be directionally accurate. They're not forecasts of price targets. Okay. One other thing I do expect kind of early in the week is a little bit of volatility, I think, as there's some, I wouldn't be surprised to see some profit taking from Friday's big move. And also we are at, or very close to 50% between these magic levels here. So this is a fib tool just with 50% turned on, and 50% is right at 12,815 on the NASDAQ futures. So I think as you drill down into lower time frame, you can expect some chop around that area as price makes its way through that halfway point, okay, between those magic levels. And I've used the concept of sub-magic levels in the past, and this 50% area is pretty key. Okay, so that is really the updated forecast here that we're going to run with going forward. I think there may be a few little wiggles on, like maybe an hourly time frame or 30-minute time frame early in the week, as there's some profit taking around this level. And there's also some minor astrology events happening as well that may be negative. But in general, I think the Gann wave pattern has been very strong lately, very reliable. You can see how blue tagged the low here incredibly accurately. Green up here tagged the high. And we also have Mercury retrograde. And I think Mercury retrograde is really when things align, when we go from yellow down to blue during a Mercury retrograde, it's a pretty reliable down signal. So that's what we're counting on here in this forecast going forward. Okay, so that is the new forecast. Let's flip over to UNG. This was a trade I was stalking, but was a little impatient on the entry because again, the Gann wave blue and yellow cycle here, you can see how incredibly successful that has been. But one of the problems that I had with my execution here is just I wasn't patient enough to let the square of 12, these two moving averages, it's a 103 and 144 EMA. That's what I call the square of 12. It's a invention of Matt on Twitter. So I didn't let these flatten out enough. So the last time I traded this, it was down here, and you can see how flat the square of 12 was, right? Price had kind of stabilized. It had taken the time needed to build a base. And then when the Gann wave blue hit, price was able to take off. In this case, price had not stabilized, okay? It's stabilizing down here, and you can see that the square of 12 is starting to flatten out on a 30-minute chart, but it wasn't flat enough to sort of take an entry at this stage. I kind of assumed that the combination of price being at a magic level and the Gann wave blue being in effect, that we would get a bounce here, but was definitely early on that assessment. I'll take another stab at this once we see price cross a magic level here. So hopefully that works out. It was a single-digit % loss on this attempt, so that's all right. I can live with that. And we look forward to, the next attempt here at UNG long. All right, so wanted to talk about that. What's next? Let's take a look at the dollar, because the dollar is kind of key to everything. It's like the keystone to everything these days. So in time trades, it's uses UUP. This is the USD index. It's basically the ETF equivalent of DXY. And there was a major reversal here in the dollar in the past week, right near the Gann wave blue. And it's coming back down to retest this magic level at 2903. So it'll be a real interesting juncture here to see if the dollar can stabilize at this level. Often when we see magic level crosses like this, it comes back in for a retest, okay? So I'm uncertain about this. I know there's a cluster of green here indicating a move up. I'm really sort of uncertain if that's going to happen. I think we come back down and complete the retest here. But what is intriguing to me here about the dollar is our forecast in stocks calls for stocks going down, starting with the Gann wave yellow on September 19th, going down into early October at the end of Mercury retrograde. And that also aligns with the dollar going up here into a pivot high, okay? So it looks like we're going to get another wave of dollar strength here. I really like this combination of moves up into a pivot high, because these are two separate independent machine learning models that generate these probabilities. And when you see these types of combinations together, that means that the things are in sync. So that's what I kind of look for when I'm interpreting the probabilities on time trades. Okay, so that's the dollar. It looks like that we're, according to the machine learning, we're going to be getting another wave up here into early October. All right, so let's take a look at the world of crypto. In Bitcoin, we had a nice pop up here. It was not predicted by the machine learning, but if we go and take a look at TradingView, we can see the common patterns that we tend to see in reversal. So let's go and bring up Bitcoin, and we can drop down into like a lower level time frame here, and you can see what I'm talking about. So let me just configure this, and I'll get rid of this, and I'll get rid of this. Okay, so here we are with Bitcoin, and we're taking a look at this lower time frame here, and we got the Gann wave blue, which traditionally is a low in price, okay? And we've got the square of 12, those two EMAs, 103 and 144 EMA, and those are nice and flat. We get this drop down into the magic level at about 18,900. Price goes through it and then recovers pretty well. And then we can see this recovery here again with horizontal Gann waves. So there's a number of positives at this stage, right? Where after the Gann wave blue, the square of 12 is flat. We've crossed a magic level to the upside. Those are three nice reasons to enter along here. I did not take this, but I did see it. It did catch my eye. And I think it's important to point out that time trades is much more than just sort of daily probabilities. It's the combination of magic levels, Gann waves, and this square of 12 EMA combination is very effective on its own without even taking a look at those daily probabilities. So this is a great way to improve your trading accuracy. When you see a cross of a magic level and a sort of a strong separation above it, that is a good indicator that you should be trading this from the direction of the magic level cross, right? So it's not saying buy here, but it is saying that if you are going to trade at this point, it should be long because the last magic level cross was up. All right. And then typically when we get a magic level cross, we get price coming down and retesting that magic level. We did not get, well, it came close, I guess, to a retest here, but didn't quite get that in this case. I think because the upward strength was just too high, and you can see obviously it launched right up and went all the way up to the next magic level here. So this would be a great spot to take profits. All right, so that's Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on in the world of Ethereum. Okay, so again, when it comes to Ethereum, the daily probabilities aren't showing much in the near future, but there's a lovely and growing cluster of green over here starting in late September. Okay, so this is a nice little trade that is worth watching and seeing that develop. Maybe if we do end up getting some weakness coming into here, we can buy it a little closer to this white magic level because these white magic levels offer very strong support. Okay, so that's Ethereum. Let's take a look at MATIC. Okay, so MATIC really showing some strength here, but you can see how this white magic level at $1 kind of deflected price or rejected price pretty well, but it kicked it down to about the 77-cent range where things stabilized. But we've got a nice growing pivot low here right around this blue Gann wave. This looks like a good opportunity to maybe enter MATIC, and we can take this Gann wave trade from blue to yellow, and you can see that the yellow roughly corresponds with pivot highs up here. So that is what we're seeing in the short term in MATIC. Probably best just to hang out and see if we can get an entry a little bit closer to one of these Gann wave white lines. Okay, and let me wrap up with a review of some Indian stocks. So if we have a bullish bias, we can go to the models page here and we can set our time frame for 5 or 10 trading days. I've got it set to 5 for the next week, and then we can click on the header of the column mean move up 2SD, and 2SD stands for 2 standard deviations. So what we're doing is we're finding the Indian stocks that have the highest probability of a move up in the next 5 trading days. So top of the list here is Mahindra and Mahindra. Let's click on that and see what it looks like. So it's high, but one of the things I don't like about this one is it's got declining probabilities of up days. So generally, I like to buy on sort of this side of one of these wedges, or maybe over here, like this one. This little cluster looks pretty good. I like it because it combines probabilities of up days with pivot highs. So this time frame over here, like September 23rd, 27th, 28th, might be a little bit better to enter Mahindra. Let's take a look at LTI. See, LTI is maybe a little bit better positioned because we're on the left-hand side of this ramp, and this ramp is going right into this yellow Gann wave. So I like the chart of LTI much more. If there is an Indian stock that I would suggest to trade on the long side for the coming week, it's LTI. So we'll take a look at this in next week's video to see how that panned out. Okay, so that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Good luck trading this week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye now.